more people believe lies about diet than they do perhaps about New Age. And so I would say GMO, health, like the older idea of the food pyramid, that you need this like giant amounts of grains, that should be your primary diet focus, and that you need all this, like, you know, basically just the normal diet, the normie diet. Total nonsense, total BS. You know, you look into the carnivore diet, you look into keto, this kind of stuff. People, for the most part, don't eat primarily plant-based diets. And yet now this is being pushed everywhere. And somehow somebody has it in their mind that eating a bunch of plants is what, like eating like a rabbit makes you healthy. You're not a rabbit, dude. I mean, maybe if you believe that everything is a social construct, you think you're a rabbit, but you're not a rabbit just because you think you are. But I'm going to say that is number 5. Number 4 is again kind of undergirding the previous ones, and it's one that you would expect me to say, which is dialectics, either ors. Most of us believe in some kind of phony notion of either or dialectics. And now, in a sense, dialectics are a result of the fall. And this is things that are placed or believed to be in tension that actually aren't in tension. So it could be anything like a political party, the liberals, the conservatives, the GOP versus Democrats. Right? That's a very popular, well-known false dialectic that a lot of people refer to. It's a great one. Are you going to buy, you know, Coke or Pepsi? And they're basically owned by the same shareholders. This kind of stuff. False dialectics, false choices, false either-or dichotomies. And they underlie all kinds of things that we see in the world. Like, people think that if you say you investigate some event and you come to believe some other narrative, oh, you must be then part of a group of liberals. Oh, in this case, you must be part of that conservative group. As if you can't investigate the topics on their own merits. Like, as if that automatically puts you into some arbitrary group, right? It doesn't follow. It doesn't follow from the fact that because you're investigating one side of something or a different narrative of something, that therefore it automatically includes, as a kind of guilt by association, you with everything else. So that's a big one, right? I mean, we're all kind of, especially in the modern world, we're fooled by this phony football match of, it's like WWF wrestling, right? It's false dialectics. Number 3, I'm going to say number 3 is the idea that, well, we all know that the experts are right. The managerial society, the expert class, the academics, the degrees. Look at all those numbers. Look at all those digits next to the name. Gil Bates, I mean, he worked on computers for so long. He must know everything about medicine too, right? Really? Yeah, no, that doesn't follow, does it? Right? Well, there's a guy on a TV in a suit with a tie. He must know how the world really works, right? Right? The newsman. The idea that experts, academics, computer engineers somehow have some higher authority or class by virtue merely of being involved in some academic credentials is ludicrous. I mean, how often have experts been wrong? Now, does that mean that experts are always wrong? No, don't fall into a dialectics, right? Number 4, because I said that we should question or be skeptical of so-called authorities. There are people who are experts, and there's nothing wrong with expert testimony. But a lot of times you'll find in life that experts conflict. What do you do in that case? How do you know which ones to choose? Is it just, oh, well, there's 500 experts over on this side and 333 experts on this. So obviously, it's not obvious. Just because there's a higher number on one side or the other, you could have 1,000 experts on one side and one guy on the other side, and one guy's right? I mean, that's conceivable. So really, it doesn't work that way, right? Truth's not determined by some kind of like democratic percentile of who's got more numbers, right? So I would say that we have to be aware, and this is, as we said, part of that sort of technocratic plan mentioned by Quigley, whole chapter on the coming managerial society where you'll be ruled by managerial experts. Tavistock was part of that too. Number 2, bling bling. Give me them clicks. Give me that e-celeb. I can tell you from the lofty heights of e-celeb fame, now being this highest level of e-celeb, I'm joking, fame and money. I mean, money is essentially a symbol for energy, for human energy, transactions. It in itself really doesn't have any value other than what value is perceived to have. And that's why anything could stand as a symbol of value. Right? Tally sticks, right? In the medieval world, were a form of currency. Shells, right? All kinds of different things have functioned as currencies. And so money really is whatever's perceived to have a kind of value. That's not to say that some things can't have inherent value. Surely they can. But typically when we're speaking of finance, we're speaking of the idea of symbolic forms of exchange. And people think that this, if I get those, the accumulation of ones and zeros on the screen, my bank account, get them Bitcoins or social status, fame, then I will have what I'm seeking. Now, nothing wrong with the acquisition of funds, nothing wrong with having money, but the love of money is what's the root of evil. And this, as scripture says, it blinds many, right? They get lost in the pursuit of something that's merely a tool and they miss the big picture. And the same is true with fame. Fame is fleeting, money is fleeting. These things go away. We're all going to die. You're not going to be able to take your Bitcoins with you into your virtual download, Bill Gates matrix where you're making love to dragons all day, right? In your Bill Gates utopia. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. I know you want that so bad, but it's not going to happen, bro. So money and fame, I'm going to say number 2. People still chasing the dream, which is actually a lie. Number 1, and the two are connected here to combine these two. The number 1 lie, evolution and relativism. Evolution gave us the idea, I mean metaphysically speaking here, not the theory, not the notion of adaptation of species. Adaptation is obviously true, but the idea of the transmutation of species that they just kind of morph into all the different forms that we have, and everything came from some primal amoeba or singular thing that's it's split into 2 different genders magically at one point, and then magically it developed 2 different organs and so forth. Total nonsense. And one way to philosophically prove this is to point out that its corollary that I'm including in number 1, which is relativism. Relativism is itself a product of this notion of everything being in constant flux and change. If everything is in constant flux and change, then the proposition everything is in constant flux and change also has to be in constant flux and change, and therefore isn't true. I mean, it's that dumb, really. So the idea of something that's observed in the natural world and becoming a grand narrative worldview itself is also absurd. It's the number 1 lie. I mean, most people think that truth, ethics, metaphysics, they're all just purely relative, man. Whatever floats your boat, whatever you think, that's your... we all have a right to our opinions, man. Is that true? Universally, that we all have a right to our opinions? How do you know that? Right? It's a very simple way to show that this is a faulty presupposition.